My son was kidnapped, and they demanded 50 million. Grace accused me of faking it, and Marcus leaked the news to the media. I pleaded on my knees for them not to make it public, but Grace scoffed, calling me overly sensitive. That was until a severed finger arrived. I stared at their faces, my nails digging deep into my flesh. The blood on the child's tender little finger had already coagulated, and begun to darken. An overwhelming hatred and pain drilled into my brain. My vision swam, my suffocating heart felt torn in two, and blood surged from my mouth. Reporters crowded around me, reporting the child's death in front of the cameras. Grace's child was killed. One said, "What kind of situation is this? There's no more shocking news than this." Alas, another chimed in, "After 3 days of rescue efforts, it's regrettable, but we still couldn't save the child. Police have already arrived at the scene," a third reporter announced, "but the perpetrators had long since fled. Let's continue to follow the news on Finn's kidnapping case." No one knew how I had endured those 3 days, or how Grace, as a mother, had endured them. I begged Grace not to let the Medias news reach the kidnappers' ears. If only I could get to the designated location, and give the kidnappers the 50 million. Perhaps our son could still be saved. "Henry," she said, "of course I'll save the child. But 50 million isn't a small sum. Wait a little longer." What I waited for, however, was the news the next day. Grace and Marcus had bought a luxurious estate at the coastal resort. That estate was worth hundreds of millions. I confronted her. "Does our son's life mean nothing?" "This estate is enough to buy 4 lives for our son," she replied. She remained as indifferent as ever. "Henry, stop making a scene. Finn is a boy. It's good for him to gain some experience. Why are you so anxious? Maybe he can escape on his own. Besides, didn't I say, once I have enough money, I'll go save him?" No matter how brave the kidnappers are, they wouldn't dare actually harm my son, Grace's son. After all these years with Grace, did she really think I didn't know how much money she had? The house we bought when we got married was worth tens of millions. The miscellaneous renovations cost over $1 million, not to mention the real estate holdings scattered everywhere over the years. Even if she genuinely ran out of money, selling just one house could still save our son's life. She simply didn't want to save him, so I gathered and sold my sneakers, watches, and scooters. But the money I received was less than 10 million. I desperately contacted Grace's friends and business partners, hoping they could lend me some money temporarily, but they either hung up as soon as they heard my voice or politely refused, as if they had all agreed beforehand. I picked up a piece of gauze, carefully cradling my son's finger in it, and wrapping it up. I pleaded on my knees to the media. "Please, I beg you, help me find my son's body as soon as possible. Can you please not report on the rest? I don't want my wounds to be torn open again and again. If there hadn't been such widespread reporting, my son shouldn't have been killed by the kidnappers so quickly. I had promised the kidnappers I would give them the 50 million, but I couldn't blame the media. I could only blame the person who leaked the information, and even more, I hated Finn's birth mother, who remained so indifferent. My forehead was bruised from kneeling. A kind person helped me up. Just then, Grace returned with Marcus. "Oh, what's all the commotion here?" Marcus was wearing sunglasses and a bright red swimsuit. He looked like he had just come from the beach. He suddenly shrieked, pulling Grace into his arms. Pointing at the gauze in my hand, he said, "Grace, what's that? So much blood." I instinctively flinched back. Grace frowned, and snatched it from my hand. When she unwrapped the gauze, the bloody finger appeared before Grace. Marcus shrieked even more unrestrainedly. Grace asked, "What is this?" I said hoarsely, "That's your son's finger. The kidnappers cut it off. Finn is dead." Large tears streamed down my face. Grace's furrowed brow relaxed, and she began to laugh. "Henry, you really went to great lengths for this performance. You hired so many people to act with you, even dyed your hair white, and now you've even made a model of our son's finger. I am not trying to criticize you, but I just celebrated Marcus' birthday with him, and gave him an estate. Are you really that jealous?" It turned out that from the very beginning, Grace believed I was putting on a show. She didn't believe me. Marcus snatched the finger from Grace's hand, and dangled it. "Henry, which model company did you find? It's quite lifelike." Coincidentally, a finger fell off the one figurine Grace gave me. I was thinking of asking the model company to make me a replica to attach. I wonder if they can do it, but looking at the craftsmanship, the bone texture is even replicated. Making a figurine should be easy, right? I raised my hand, wanting to snatch back my son's little finger. This isn't a model, this is my son's finger. Give it back to me. Marcus looked utterly startled. The smile vanished from his face instantly, his brow furrowed into a knot. He leaned against Grace, and even his voice was choked. Grace, didn't you say Henry was quite generous? Why is he so fierce just because I am playing with a model finger? I was just genuinely curious. I roared, grabbing his collar, my voice trembling. I told you to give it to me. He clutched it tightly to his chest, tears just streaming down his face. Grace shoved me away. I stumbled and fell to the ground. Henry, haven't you made enough of a scene? Marcus just thought the model was fun. You're really treating it like our son's actual finger. Don't get addicted to acting. I told her, I am not acting. By the end of my shouts, my voice was almost gone. The taste of blood spread in my throat. Grace, her eyes red, said, you know Marcus is a kind boy, so on the day you called me, he was willing to interrupt his own birthday party, just to help you call the police. These people are not the media Marcus contacted. Those media outlets said there was no such news. The reporters even scolded Marcus, saying he wasted their time and told him to verify his information before speaking. If something really happened to my son, why didn't anyone contact me? Why only you? Henry, I know I've neglected you, and our son recently due to work. I'll definitely make it up to you, both after Finn's summer camp ends. Now, quickly dismiss these people you hired. Don't make a fool of yourself, and your white hair, dye it back quickly. If you go out like this, people will laugh at me. Grace, listening to Grace's words, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cavern. My heart skipped beat after beat. I dragged my heavy body up from the ground, gritting my teeth. I still tried to snatch the finger from Marcus' hand. No matter how Grace tried to block me, she couldn't stop me. Marcus shrieked, terrified by me. He opened his hand and threw the finger away. I rushed to pick it up. Blood had mixed with some dirt on it. I tried to wipe it off, but frantically snatched the finger before I could react. She threw it far away. Since that's the case, no one gets it. My eyes were fixed on it, watching the little finger fall into the artificial lake near the entrance and get carried away. I spun around in a frenzy, no longer caring about anything else. I immediately jumped into the water, but I underestimated the depth of the artificial lake. The moment I hit the water, I was disoriented by the current, with only the instinct to survive remaining. After struggling for an unknown amount of time, I collapsed from exhaustion. When I woke up again, Grace was by my bedside. She had already changed out of her matching swimsuit with Marcus. You're a grown man, she said. Can't you act a little more maturely? The lake current is so strong, and you still jumped in. Do you even remember that you can't swim? It was just a model to scare me. Was it really worth risking your life for? Only the media and I knew that it wasn't just a model, only we knew the truth. But at that time, not a single person stood up for me. They all feared Grace. They only knew how to bully me, and the child behind our backs. If the media had publicized it widely then, as long as Grace had come forward to stop it, she could have quickly prevented the news from spreading, and the kidnappers wouldn't have been provoked to kill Finn. Everything could have been saved. Now, there's nothing left to think about. I spoke. Grace, let's get a divorce. She couldn't believe her ears. Henry, you're getting more and more out of line. It's just a small matter. Do you really have to bring up divorce over it? Are you jealous? Do you think I was protecting Marcus just now? He was in his swimsuit. If you pull him like that, he could easily expose himself. That's why I stopped you. They're both men. Can't you try to understand each other? Why do you have to make things difficult for him at every turn? I was used to hearing such words. They no longer hurt me. In her eyes, Marcus could do no wrong, and everything I did was just making a scene. But wasn't it Marcus who first interfered in our relationship, and then provoked me after my son was kidnapped? I was too weary to argue any further. She threw a medical report onto the bed for me to see. Henry, do you have too much time on your hands? Our son's only been at summer camp for a few days, and you've developed heart disease. I can understand you being ill, and having a bad mood and taking it out on me, but don't drag innocent people into it. Grace, don't want a man who's constantly sick. Take good care of your health, and once he's better, he'll give you whatever you want. Didn't Finn want to go on vacation in the south when he was little? Once you recovered, he'll go with you and our son. The future Grace had planned could never be realized, because of her. Ever since Finn was killed, I would never have a future with her, and she was even less worthy of being involved with Finn and me. She answered a phone call. It was Marcus. Grace, how is Henry? I really shouldn't have gotten rid of Henry's finger model. It's all my fault. So I contacted the model company to make a new one for Henry. I hope Henry can forgive me. Grace's lips curved upward. She looked at me with a relieved expression. I knew what she meant. She wanted me to praise Marcus for being kind and generous. Marcus' tone suddenly shifted. His voice became a little shy. Can you come over to my place? I have some good news to tell you. Your gynecological exam results were sent to my phone. Guess, did we hit the jackpot? After hung up the phone, she was wondering how to tell me. But I said, go ahead. Her eyebrows lifted in delight. That's more like it. Take good care of your health. The words barely left her lips, and she hurried out. As for me, I hailed a taxi to the hospital without a moment's delay, to pick up Grace's so-called gynecological exam report. 10 years of marriage, 1 child lost, 1 adult half destroyed, and the mother, who should have been most deeply connected to her child, had just conceived a child with her true love. The moment I received the test results, I cried uncontrollably. After I finished crying, even my tears held a newfound resolve. My eldest child had just been murdered. His remains hadn't even been found. His mother did nothing, but he still had a father. In the future, I would definitely get justice for Finn. When I returned home, I saw an overwhelming flood of media reports. They had captured 2 figures from behind. To anyone who knew them, it was clearly Grace and Marcus, yet they mistakenly identified Marcus as me. The news headline read, "Only tragically, body warm, and the Grace couple to hospital for pregnancy." Someone commented below the news, "You can't expect them to dwell in grief forever. Maybe the eldest child missed his parents and came back to them. This child must be well protected. Make sure to protect it well after it's born." Looking at the overwhelming comments, my heart had long since grown numb. I didn't even feel the pain anymore. I only felt that Grace was disgraceful. That very evening, Grace called me, saying she had an urgent business trip for a few days, and told me to take care of myself. She added that, when she returned, she would pick Finn up from summer camp. I scoffed. Just half an hour earlier, Marcus had posted Grace's prenatal test results on his social media, along with a photo of their fingers intertwined. Grace successfully conceived twins. She said my little swimmers were strong. As a reward, Grace is taking me on a vacation to South. In the comments section, Grace wished, hoping for a twin boy and girl. I went back and liked Marcus' post. A police officer contacted me. "Hello, may I speak with Mr. Henry?" My heart immediately tightened. "Yes, that's me, your son, Finn. His body has been found. Please come to Havenwood quickly to identify him." I couldn't help but burst into tears, crying and thanking them at the same time. I bought the next available plane ticket to Havenwood. Finn was missing a little finger, his eyes were gone, only 1 ear remained, and his entire body was badly decomposed. I couldn't imagine what the child had suffered before his death. "I am sorry, Daddy couldn't even protect your little finger. Daddy is useless." After killing Finn, the kidnappers threw his body into a large reservoir in a desolate area nearby. Finn drifted downstream along the current into the river. A fisherman discovered him and reported it, and his identity was confirmed through DNA identification. His face was swollen from being in the water. One could say he was barely recognizable. I knelt over his body and wept bitterly. When he went to summer camp, he had happily told me he would pick some fruit to bring home for me. But now, the vibrant child was gone. He was only 6 years old. "Don't worry," I vowed. "Daddy will definitely get justice for you, and bring the wicked to justice." I gnashed my teeth until they bled. Grace called. I didn't answer. After she repeatedly called, and I repeatedly hung up, she sent me a message. "I really do have a business trip. I am just bringing Marcus along to take a look. He understands some company matters. Even if I have another child with Marcus, I won't neglect our child. Don't worry, this time, just focus on recovering. Don't make a fuss. I should truly be happy for her. I wouldn't make a fuss anymore. Whatever she did was no longer my concern." I found a funeral home to lay Finn to rest and checked into a random hotel. Marcus sent a message. "Just arrived at our destination." Grace immediately started insisting on buying a gold locket for the baby. She bought the whole set, so extravagant. Followed by a shy emoji. 2 minutes later, he sent another message. "Oops, how did this get sent to Henry?" Don't worry, Grace definitely loves Henry's child more. The show they were putting on was truly sickening. I contacted a lawyer overnight, drew up the divorce agreement, and sent it to Grace, along with a photo of my son lying cold in the funeral home. Then I changed my phone's SIM card, and dedicated myself entirely to Finn's funeral arrangements. It felt as if I hadn't prepared for anything, but I had naturally separated from Grace. Grace received the package I sent her. She opened it, and instantly flared up in anger. She didn't even pay attention to a naked Marcus. She shoved him away. You are absolutely going too far. Now, just because I am pregnant with Marcus' child, you photoshopped a photo of our own son's remains, didn't you? A woman as malicious as you, I haven't even filed for divorce yet. What right do you have to propose it to me? Henry, is this your revenge against me? Completely insane. When she saw the 4 red exclamation marks, she grew even angrier. While was showering, she called her assistant, tomorrow, pick up Finn from summer camp for me. Her chest heaved with anger. She just wouldn't believe it. Even for Finn, I couldn't possibly divorce her. But the assistant weakly said, Ms. Grace, yesterday was the last day of summer camp. I didn't pick up Finn. The teacher told me. Finn is really dead. Grace bolted upright from the bed. What did you say? Finn really was kidnapped and killed by the perpetrators. Grace's heart skipped a beat. A sharp pain began to seize it, as if an electric current was flowing through her body. Impossible. How could this be? Finn is a good boy. He wouldn't wander off when he goes out to play. Besides, Marcus and I called the police at the time and informed the media. Even the reporters couldn't find any news, and the police haven't responded to me either. Why didn't anyone tell me about such a huge incident? You weren't bought off by Henry too, were you? Even at the first sign of trouble, she still thought I had bribed everyone. But I had already told her. The whole world had told her. She just wouldn't believe it. If she had just glanced at the news, she would have known I wasn't lying. The assistant said, how could that be? Ma'am, there's no reason for him to lie to you about this. And no reason to bribe me, also. There were frequent calls to the front desk. Before, everyone thought they were scam calls, so they didn't answer any of them. Because of that, the company even changed its main phone number. Grace growled, couldn't you tell if they were scam calls or not? Silence met her words. After hanging up, Grace seemed to lose her soul. She sank to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time. She replayed everything in her mind. From the time Finn's accident happened until now, the news had consistently been on the trending topics. Even my pleading on my knees to the media not to tip off the kidnappers had been filmed and gone viral online. But at that time, she thought I was just a very convincing actor. She even called me overly sensitive. Marcus came out after showering and began to kiss her neck. His warm, restless lips pressed against her body, but she felt no interest whatsoever. Grace, pregnant, be gentle, our baby is very healthy. She pushed Marcus away again. Marcus, tell me everything was fake. The media you contacted, they accused you of spreading false news, right? Marcus was a little flustered. Why are you suddenly asking about this? Just tell me, was it? Marcus swallowed. Yes. Grace looked into his eyes. Do you know what will happen if you lie to me? Marcus looked at her innocently, though his eyes held fear. Grace didn't call him out. She wanted to investigate the matter herself. If was truly dead, and if Marcus had lied to her about everything, she wouldn't let him off. She put on her clothes. Marcus embraced her from behind. Grace, it's dark now. What urgent matter do you need to deal with right now? I've already showered, and I am waiting for you. Grace slowly pried his fingers off and walked away without looking back. She flew her private jet home. It was already 4 in the morning. The vast house was devoid of any life. In the past, when Finn and I were home, no matter how late she came back, I would always make her ham-over soup, and prepare her stomach medicine, even warm up her meals. I never complained to Grace. I constantly told Finn to be considerate of his mother, that it wasn't easy for her to earn money outside. But now, there was nothing left in the house. Grace slowly turned on the lights and gasped. Before I left, the drops of blood I'd coughed up from grief were still on the floor. I hadn't had time to clean them up. The shoe and watch cabinets in the room were completely empty. Even the wardrobe only contained a few of my cheapest, everyday clothes. Grace, her eyes red, sat on the floor and lit a cigarette. She dared not imagine what Finn and I had truly been through. I had been constantly pleading with her for help, yet she preferred to give Marcus hundreds of millions, to buy an estate rather than spending 50 million to save our child. For her, that 50 million was merely a tiny fraction of her vast wealth. She had always been dismissive, simply unwilling to believe a single word I said. Even friends had called her, asking what had happened at home and if they needed to pool money to rescue Finn. But she simply told her friends, "Don't give Henry a single penny. Finn is perfectly fine at summer camp. He's just putting on a show for me, because I celebrated Marcus' birthday. Don't give him a single cent." She stubbed out the cigarette, lowered her head, and wept heartbrokenly. Her tears fell to the floor, mingling with my dried blood. "I am sorry, Henry. I am sorry, Finn. I am not human." She aimlessly smoked one cigarette after another, scattering butts across the floor, until the sun rose and it was time for work. She didn't even have time to change her clothes, and quickly drove to the company. She questioned the front desk staff, who called during that time. "Couldn't you tell if they were scam calls? Quickly find the old phone cards. If you can't find them, you'll all be out of a job." The young woman at the front desk was an intern. She was trembling with fear, choking back tears. She said, "We kept trying to report the calls to you, but then Mr. Marcus answered the phone, and he told us they were all scammers, saying they had kidnapped your child to demand money, and that we shouldn't disturb your work. We were also afraid you'd fall for a trick, and if anything went wrong, you'd blame us for not filtering the information properly." Someone nearby nudged her discreetly, shaking their head at her, motioning for her to stop talking. She promptly fell silent. Grace stumbled, nearly falling to the ground, but her assistant nearby caught her. She clenched her fists tightly. It was that man, after all. Go bring that despicable Marcus back from Lakeshore City. Don't let him go out and cause trouble anymore. By then, I had already rented a place in Havenwood and found a grave to bury Finn. Since he had been killed by the kidnappers, I didn't want to put him through the pain of an autopsy again, making him suffer repeatedly. What torments my son endured while alive no longer mattered to me. I only knew that wicked people had murdered my child, and I would definitely get justice for him. I had him cremated quickly. As I walked toward the cemetery carrying his urn, Grace arrived. "Henry." After a few days, she too looked like a different person. Her makeup was smudged and patchy, and a few white hairs had appeared in her shiny black hair. Her swollen eyelids seemed to tell me that she hadn't been doing well these past few days. She slowly walked towards me, reaching out to take the urn, but I moved away. Instantly, tears fell from her eyes. IVE already issued a hefty reward. Anyone who provides useful information will receive 1 million. I believe we'll find the culprits very soon, I said helplessly. What's the use of finding the culprits? Can our child come back? Just go. We don't need you, and doesn't want to see you, even if you don't offer a reward. I believe the police will still find the perpetrators. She tried to grab my arm. I stepped back. What are you saying? I am Finn's mother. A mother like you is worse than having none at all. Thinking of the past, my voice began to choke again. You didn't want to spend the money that could have saved his life, and now you want to spend money to track down the culprits. Does that make you seem generous? You weren't there when Finn and I needed you. Now we don't. I walked around her, intending to leave, but she suddenly knelt on the ground. Henry, I was wrong. I deserve to die. I know I failed you and Finn. I even thought your son's kidnapping was a performance you staged. I thought you were a petty man. I was also deceived by that despicable Marcus. Don't worry, I will definitely get justice for you and our son. Seeing my lack of reaction, she raised her hand and began slapping her own face repeatedly. The sound drilled into my ears, only increasing my irritation. I hated Grace. I hated that she always did useless things. Fine, when our son passed, the kidnappers cut off his finger. It was the one you threw away. Go find it and bring it back for him. I knew. The lake current was so swift. It was impossible to find a 6-year-old child's finger. It was simply impossible. I just wanted her to realize the futility of it and give up, so she would never disturb my life again. Grace froze. Only her sobbing could be heard. I continued walking forward, holding the urn, to bury Finn. Before I came to Havenwood, I brought Finn a few of his favorite clothes to wear and his favorite toys. I forcefully pulled off the blessed charm Grace had gotten for me years ago from a church when she found out she was pregnant. She had said, I prayed for this with the baby. It's more likely to be blessed by heaven than if I prayed alone. Wear it, and let it protect my husband, and my child always. May it bless our family to be together forever. At that time, perhaps she still held some genuine affection for me, but ever since Marcus appeared, everything changed. I sighed, wiping the tears from my face, not letting them fall on the blessed charm, nor on the cemetery plot, so Finn could rest in peace. I buried the blessed charm with Finn, It was a personal item of mine, so it would carry a bit of my fatherly presence, so he could sleep peacefully upon returning home. I received a call from the police department. They said, "The perpetrators have been found." I was overjoyed. I washed my face and rushed to the police station. There were 2 strong men, both with full-sleeve tattoos. One of them had a scar on his face. I wished I could rush forward and strangle them both, but the police held me back. I cried until I fainted. The police then took me to the hospital for emergency treatment. When I woke up, I heard the perpetrator's confession. They said, "We secretly found out that Finn was going to summer camp for 2 weeks, so we thought we'd take the opportunity to get some money. He's the son of Northwood's wealthiest person. After all, we originally didn't want to kill him. It was Henry's actions that angered us." Their overwhelming publicity made us realize they must have called the police. We were puzzled. A billionaire wouldn't even pay 50 million to save her own son's life. I made it very clear to Henry. Henry begged us for more time, and I granted him 3 days. During that time, we fed his son well and treated him kindly. We didn't expect him to be trying to stall us. Finn attended an elite private school. This summer camp was organized by the school, precisely because the children attending summer camp were all from wealthy or influential families. Only the parents of a few classmates were notified. For safety, we were specifically instructed to keep it confidential and not to leak the child's itinerary. When I discussed signing Finn up for summer camp, Marcus was also present. It could only have been those 2. I slapped my head. All that remained was regret. Why had I said those things in front of Marcus at the time? Why? The doctor said I had been in a poor emotional state recently, barely eating or drinking. Besides emotional heart disease, I also had severe anemia during this time. I had been sustained by IV drips in the hospital, barely clinging to life. In the following days, the police questioned the perpetrators again about who had leaked the private itinerary to them. At first, they refused to say. Later, they only said, "A friend just happened to mention it casually, that the billionaire's only son was attending summer camp." Under repeated questioning from the police, they finally spoke, pinpointing Marcus. Grace returned to Northwood and ordered people to drain the artificial lake near the entrance. But this artificial lake was connected to a river outside, not to mention that its sluice gates were regularly opened to release water. She then hired people to block the outlet connecting the artificial lake to the river. It took a full 2 days to completely drain the lake. A group of people jumped into the now dry artificial lake. Grace told them, "Whoever finds my son's finger, I will give you 10 million. But it was too late. They searched for 3 days and 3 nights, yet they didn't even find a single object resembling a finger. Grace sat on the bank, stunned, like a helpless child, unsure what to do next. After much deliberation, I finally called Grace myself. Grace answered, her voice trembling with excitement. She asked cautiously, "Henry, how can I help you?" I told her, my voice choked. Finn's summer camp itinerary was kept confidential from the public, so why were the perpetrators able to precisely target your son, Grace's child? Do you know why? Grace's breathing grew tense. It was Marcus who told them Finn's itinerary. He even specifically emphasized that Finn was your only son, and you would definitely pay to save him. After hearing this, Grace furiously threw her phone. My connection was cut off. Before telling her the truth, I had deliberated for a long time whether she deserved to know the truth. In the end, I hoped to see her and Marcus engage in a dog-eat-dog scenario, and so I decided to tell her the truth. Now it seemed I had guessed correctly. Grace, accompanied by several bodyguards, went to settle the score with Marcus, armed with a knife. If I hadn't brought up Marcus, she would have been too busy to even remember him. Ever since Marcus was brought back, he had been confined to the estate Grace bought for him. When he saw Grace coming to see him, through the glass, he joyfully called out, "Grace, I knew you wouldn't abandon me. You're still carrying our love child." Grace opened the door, and, with one hand, grabbed Marcus by the throat, pinning him against the wall. "Tell me, what did you say to the perpetrators? So you were involved in this whole thing all along. You first told the perpetrators that Finn was going to summer camp, then you spread the news when Finn needed us to pay the ransom. You even labeled the calls reporting the kidnapping to the company as scam calls. What exactly were your intentions?" "I know everything now." Grace raised the knife, slowly bringing it closer to Marcus' neck. Marcus, startled, shouted, "Grace, I love you. I just accidentally leaked it to someone. I really wanted to help you find Finn." Grace roared, still lying. Veins bulged clearly on her neck and arms. Her entire face turned scarlet. Grace released him, and he fell to the ground. I really didn't mean to. Grace, please believe me. Grace grabbed his arm and dragged him outside. He babbled explanations to Grace. Everything I did was for your good. Don't hurt me. I am the father of the baby in your belly. Maybe it's a twin boy and girl. I'll have both a son and a daughter. Didn't you always want a loving daughter? Grace said nothing. She pressed his hand onto the table, and with one swift strike of the knife, she chopped off his pinky finger. Marcus writhed in pain, trembling all over, terrified. He lost control of his bladder, and fresh blood gushed out. You have the nerve to talk about children. If it weren't for you, Henry and I would have had a happy family. Finn wouldn't have died, and Henry wouldn't have asked me for a divorce. You destroyed a perfectly good family. You are the culprit. I am not so foolish as to take your life. This one cut is just 1/1000th of the pain Finn endured for you to experience. She went to the hospital, lay on the operating table, and asked the doctor to have an abortion. After the trial for Finn's murder by the perpetrators began, I saw Grace in court, when the judge's gavel fell, sentencing the perpetrators to the death penalty. I was so overcome with emotion I nearly fainted. After the trial, I bought a bouquet of sunflowers, planning to visit Finn at the cemetery. Grace followed me. I'll go with you. Grace, I said, as a mother, I will allow you to visit Finn, but please, don't ever appear before me again. I will never forgive you. Her expression was filled with despair. Henry. She frantically clutched me tightly. Henry, I don't care. Please come back with me. I've completely broken things off with Marcus. I'll have an abortion, and I'll even cut off my pinky finger for him. As a way to atone for what happened to Finn, I tried to push her away, but she was holding me too tightly. As we struggled, I couldn't help but slap her, which brought her back to her senses. All the fault lies with Marcus, but don't you have any blame? Finn could have been saved. The culprits said they just wanted to extort some money. They never intended to kill him. It was you who let Marcus publicize it widely in the media, which scared them and led them to kill Finn. Originally, they gave me 3 days to put the money in a designated location, and Finn would have been saved. You were willing to buy Marcus an estate worth hundreds of millions, yet you refused to take out 50 million to save your own son's life. You are equally to blame for Finn's death. She froze, her eyes looking as if they would bleed. Yes, I am also greatly at fault. She slowly backed away, then bowed sincerely to me before turning and leaving. The next day, Grace held a press conference and revealed everything to the public, choking back tears and confessing. She said, I am not absolved of blame for Finn's death. For my husband, I was unfaithful. I wasn't a good wife. I had an affair partner, and together with her, I mistreated my husband for several years. For my child, I failed to fulfill my duties as a mother. I listened to the malicious words of his affair partner, believing it was all a show my husband put on to get my attention. I didn't go to save him, which led to my son losing his life. In the audience, someone couldn't help but curse Grace, calling her a beast. Someone threw a water bottle at her. She remained unfazed. I personally wish to voluntarily gift all my assets to my husband, Henry. She held up the divorce agreement I had once sent her. I have decided to accept Mr. Henry's divorce proposal in front of everyone. Grace signed the document and also signed an additional gratuitous transfer agreement when the staff from the notary's office and I went to inspect the assets. Even the estate gifted to Marcus had its gates open, and the inside was remarkably clean. Not a trace of Marcus living there remained. However, I found the houses Grace left me distasteful, so I sold them all. Instead, I bought another, quieter place in Havenwood, paid for in full, and settled there. The money Grace left me was enough for several lifetimes. In order to emerge from the shadow of losing my son, I enrolled in many hobby classes. In my free time, I practiced calligraphy, went racing, and did some cooking. My days were leisurely and carefree. Whenever I felt lonely, I would go to the cemetery and talk to my son. It wasn't until 3 months later that I saw news about Grace again. She had jumped into a river with Marcus. The autopsy results showed they had been in the river for over 3 months. I figured Grace must have done it right after the press conference, because I hadn't seen either of them even when I went to verify the assets. I bought 2 bottles of liquor and some drinks for my son, and brought them to the cemetery to visit him. Son, your dad is very happy now, but your mom and Marcus are gone now. You must protect yourself and not let them harm you again, understand? I sighed softly. Perhaps I was just overthinking it. Finn went to heaven, and they surely went to hell.